Hey guys, welcome back. Niels here again, and today I want to talk a little bit about different ways that you can get hacked with cloud software. So as I was browsing Facebook today, I came across Clio. They're a popular case management software company, and their advertisement basically amounts to you sign up for our system and you'll never get hacked again. And that's not entirely true, and we need to kind of separate the two kind of pieces that we have here. On one hand, when you self-host software, traditionally that's how a lot of businesses ran. When you self-host software, you are not only securing the servers that it's hosted on, but you're also generally responsible for securing that software. You're responsible for securing your users. You're responsible for securing other things as well, like your network. And so when you purchase a cloud-hosted version of a software, whether that's Clio or QuickBooks or Salesforce or many others, you are only shifting part of that whole security stack to someone else. And there's pluses and minuses to it. So Clio's ad was not entirely false, but it is false at the same time. And the problem we're seeing is that people see that and they think, oh, if we just sign up for this, we don't have to worry about security anymore. And that's not true. So the piece that you're shifting to them, the security portion that you're shifting to them, is like the application and server security management. Just a very, very small subset, a very, very small piece that is going to be offloaded from your IT guy or another company or a hosting company off to Clio themselves. A lot of companies are based on either Azure or AWS. Both are extremely robust and have great security, and the engineers who are behind that software are going to do a good job in securing it, but they're doing it as system-wide. So a couple of things that they won't secure and that you still need to pay attention to. Number one, your own network. If something is on your network, logging your keystrokes, infecting things with malware, stealing information, it doesn't matter if you're logging into a website to get that or if it's hosted locally. Yes, for something like ransomware, there is a little bit of a difference, and maybe I'll talk about that in a different video. You can still get ransomware attacked with cloud software. That's 100% possible, and we've seen it happen. So with some of them, like ransomware, you are having a lower risk, but with other things like a key logger, it doesn't matter. If something is logging your keystrokes and they're figuring out your passwords, it doesn't matter that it's a cloud instance. They're still going to be able to have access to that, the bad actors, the hackers. So you still need to secure your network. Number two, you still need to secure your users. In any organization, and this has been true for as long as you can remember, the biggest security threat to an organization is the employees, the users, the people who work every day. And the reason is we are kind of inherently trusting as people, and that's a good thing, right? It makes our relationships good. But we also tend to trust too much when things feel too familiar. So if you are really accustomed to getting an email from your bank requesting a sign-in, like every day at 3 p.m., that's really, really bad, because if I'm a bad actor and I figure that out, then I can send my own email to you requesting a sign-in, and now all of a sudden I've stolen your user credentials for that. And not only that, but I can actually steal the cookies. So even those of you who are, thinking right now, oh, if I have two-factor, that will prevent all of this. If I steal your web browser cookies, two-factor doesn't prevent it, because I'm stealing the cookie that basically tells the website, oh, two-factor is good. You don't have to do this again. Or you don't have to log in again. And those cookies can be persistent. We have a test running right now where we basically logged into a system at this point over a year ago, and we don't touch it. Every 6 months or so we go and we log in and we do things and we look around inside of it. Every once in a while that cookie expires and it's going to say, hey, we need you to sign in again. All we have to do is restore back to when the cookie wasn't expired yet, and we just open it up and it logs us right in. So even when we change the password, so that's really important too. And find this fascinating or not, this is a Google account that this is happening on. This is not some small no-name account. Now, there are certain things you can do to prevent stuff like this, but in general, most of your users are not going to want to be put through the pain every day. Now, if you're an organization that has extremely sensitive data, then you may want to enforce every sign-in two-factor, which would prevent something, like we're talking about here. But again, it wouldn't prevent everything, but it does help. If your organization does not have extremely sensitive data, you probably don't want to implement that, because that's going to take time out of your employees' day. It's going to make people annoyed, and they're not going to want to continue doing that. We get a lot of pushback when we set people's desktop auto timeout to 15 minutes, and they hate it, that they have to type in their password when they leave for 15 minutes, which, to be clear, they usually work most of the day, so I don't know, it's just when they come back from lunch. Okay, so like I said, you got to secure the network, you got to secure the users. You still have to secure portions of the software, and by that, it kind of goes a little bit into user training and some other things. Now, most software companies will do kind of a system-wide backups, if you would, that kind of encompass everything. So a really good example of this was one of the software vendors we use. One of their products that we don't use, but we use one of their products, but one of their other products last year was hit with a ransomware attack. And they had backups of the system, and they were able to restore those backups within about 4 hours after the ransomware attack. Everything was back up and running. They lost around a day's worth of data. Now, that's far from a worst case scenario. But let's talk about this a little bit. There's a couple of things that have happened. Number one, for companies like us, or larger MSPs, they may get 1,000 tickets in 24 hours. Can you imagine losing 1,000 pieces of information in basically a core piece of software? That is really, really bad. The other thing is, we can all kind of poke at them and be like, why don't you have something, more often in place, yada, yada. That's besides the point. Now, the problem we're not able to solve with system-wide backups is individual issues. So within most SaaS software, if you delete something, it is gone. You cannot call Salesforce and say, hey, I deleted this contact, can I get it back? Infusionsoft is a great example. They have been a really big leader in some of the CRM software, and they've kind of turned into Keep a little bit, and Keep is a great piece of program. And we've run into this a bunch of times where we'll have our admin or I will do it, or someone else will do it, and we'll click a campaign and we'll just be going really fast and we'll accidentally delete it. And we deleted a whole campaign. Now, to be clear, that's like, that is a trigger item, and then follow-up emails, and then other things, and then other things. So, this is a month's worth of work just gone, and they can't do anything about it. So you do still need to secure the software in some ways, including backups. Now, this can be really, really tricky. Some software companies, SaaS companies, don't give you access to any of that information. You can't really make real backups. There are certain things you can do, like in the case of Keep. We do a daily exports of contact lists and things like that. We have talked about toning those down because we don't update contacts that often, and if we're from where we are, we're comfortable losing X amount of time with contacts, but we can't back up things like campaigns. And in Clio, thankfully, there is a way to back up your data in your own account. Now, it is not very automated. You have to plug it into Amazon's S3, and you kind of have to set up this whole process to do it, but thank goodness they do have that option available. And so if you're the type of law firm where you have a lot of transactions, and even a 4-hour window would be devastating, then you can set up backups every hour. You can work with your IT provider to set that kind of thing up. Because it is not automated. But a lot of other software companies don't offer kind of a system-wide backup for your own instance. So you do need to really pay attention and look and see the software and figure out how to make backups out of the software, figure out what information you really need, figure out what information you're okay with losing, and then you can even make your purchasing decisions based on stuff like this. And I definitely recommend when you talk to your software vendors, asking those questions about how they handle backups, and if you are able to take backups yourself of the running system. So that's part of securing the software. The other part of securing the software has a little bit to do with user training, like I was talking about over here. You need to train users on how to correctly use the software. Now, most SaaS software, nowadays, SaaS, software as a service, is pretty good. Is pretty good about managing permissions. We've gotten kind of past the days where when you add a user and you don't go and tick a bunch of special boxes nobody told you about, you end up exposing your organization. That doesn't really happen, but it can still happen. So one of the biggest things you need to make sure is when you add users, are you adding them under admin, or are you adding them as like a staff, or do you have permission groups? How are you adding them in? Because the last thing you want, if you're a medium-sized business, 20 employees or more, is you add the new front desk lady as an admin, and then she accidentally messes with some information just because software is confusing, and we all need training, and you lose information, or you have corruption, or worse, it's she deletes it or maliciously uses it. He or she, I guess he could be either. So you need to train your users on how to properly use the software, and you also need to pay attention to how you're adding your users to that software and what they are and are not able to see. So with all of that said, and there can be more. We're not talking about phishing or anything like that today, which that's another concern that goes into security, but that's kind of securing your network, securing your users type of thing. So with all of that said, you can see that there really isn't a lot of additional security you get by going with software as a service. What you do get though is you get better uptimes, you get anywhere access for the most part, and you kind of have a good base to build on. It kind of relieves us, IT people, or you if you're just doing this by yourself, of the burden of managing servers and configuring ports and replacing failed hard drives, and very basic stuff that we don't really enjoy doing anymore, and it's not fun work. It's not generally rewarding. Amazon, AWS, and Azure have figured this out a long time ago, and they're doing great at it. There are some public versus private cloud concerns, but we generally won't get into that in this video. So you can see that they don't offer a lot of security solving or a lot of problem solving. They definitely take care of a very significant portion that makes it very easy for us to continue doing our work, but there's still a significant amount that is placed on you that you have to make sure stays secure. It is not a blanket solution. Just signing up for a piece of software does not make you completely secure, and you never have to think about it again. Security is a revolving door. It's always changing. The hackers are always coming up with new ways to hack you, and you have to figure out on ways to protect yourself. Remember, they only have to be right once. We have to be right every time. So I hope this video was helpful. Hit like, get subscribed, and we'll see you later.